Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts89. Well, the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, a space adventure hour, is about to air, and there's a few issues with this episode. Now, number one, people are asking, how can there be a holodeck on the Pike-era Enterprise? Well, the way they've explained this, they don't really need to because this is an alternative universe, an alternative timeline where anything can happen, but they're still trying to act like it's the original Star Trek and it's real Star Trek, because they're caught up on that. Like, they think fans will just, shun the show if they realise it's actually set in a different universe and different timeline and all that, which it is. The original Star Trek Enterprise had a holodeck that was in development, and they feature it in the animated series, which is canon, technically. And it's like in the last year. Now, in this episode, it's a prototype, and at the end of the episode, basically they shelve it because they decide this is too dangerous, and they shelve it. And I guess Scotty didn't learn anything from this episode, and he goes back, to develop it. The idea being that it would be something that's available for, all crews and all ships one day to have as, entertainment facilities. So that's sort of what happens in the Next Generation era. So that's how you can explain it. You don't have to explain it because it's a different universe, different timeline. They could just have holodecks on that Enterprise. You don't need to explain it. But that's how they're doing it for the people who need to believe it's the same universe and everything when it's not. And the good news is, though, I thought they were doing a murder mystery holodeck episode and an episode where they were doing like a space parody. Because they're basically making fun of the original Star Trek, and in order to do that, they're exaggerating it to the point of appearing like a 1950s Flash Gordon cartoon, or short serial, because the original Star Trek holds up, and it's very difficult to make fun of it unless you exaggerate it. So they do that, and Paul Wesley, who has no charisma, he can act, but he has no charisma. He's no Pike, let alone Kirk. He's no Anson Mount, let alone Shatner. He said he was basically making fun of Shatner's Kirk in this episode. He's doing a parody of Shatner's Kirk in this episode, or more of Shatner, making fun of him being this conceited actor who's pompous and thinks he's a great actor, and he's doing some version of this character when he's playing that role in the holodeck, which is a real insult to Shatner, who he's met on a couple of occasions. He tells a really interesting story where right after being cast, he ended up being seated next to Shatner on a plane, and he kept running into him, and it's like, maybe the universe is trying to tell you something, you're not him. But yes, so I just found it interesting that he's making fun of Shatner in this episode, that they felt the need to explain why there's a holodeck, and that thank God there's only one holodeck episode that is a murder mystery and making fun of the original Star Trek. I thought they were doing two full episodes, one as like a space-time adventure. I thought that was the parody one, and the murder mystery was another episode. So the fact they're all in one episode and they're doing different scenes in the holodeck, so maybe that Flash Gordon attack on the original Star Trek might just be like one short sequence or something, not a whole episode, thank God. So it's easier to dismiss and forget. So yeah, that's what we know at this point, and I just thought it interesting that they needed to explain it for the people who still want to believe that it's the same universe. But I mean, look, Star Trek is a multiverse now, so the Mirror Universe, the Discoveryverse, the Kelvinverse, the original Star Trek timeline, they're all in the same universe, they're all canon, and once you acknowledge Star Trek is a multiverse, it all works. But the fact they keep holding on to saying, no, this is all based in the same timeline and world as the original Star Trek, and somehow all the costumes change, somehow all the actors change, somehow all the characters change, somehow all the events change, somehow all the history changes, and the ships grow and shrink and everything, but it's all canon. Jesus. You have to be really, I can't think of a word to use that we're still allowed to use, but you there has to be something wrong with you to believe that Strange New Worlds and Discovery and Picard and all those events are all one consistent timeline, one consistent canon that's all in the same timeline. It's different timelines and different universes, and just acknowledge that, and just please just acknowledge it and work with it and use it and be like, yes, we're now going to reboot this, and we're going to do our version of this, rather than trying to say, no, it's the same version, we're just doing an episode here and an episode there, and we're just sort of working around the events that already exist, even though we're totally breaking them. Because that just insults our intelligence. Well, for the intelligent Star Trek fans. For the non-intelligent ones, they just go, yeah, this is awesome! And then lecture us about, God, that's a whole other video. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of a space-time adventure, or whatever it's called, and the fact they feel the need to explain having holodecks, and just the revelation, at least for me, that this is all one episode, and we're not going to see as much of a parody done of the original Star Trek. They're not going to trash it as much as I thought. I thought they were going to do a whole episode like that, and I'm really relieved it's just like one scene in the holodeck episode.